The original ring of power that took slow virgin, a ring with supernatural abilities times its beholder with power. But there is no habit, forward or backward in this tale. In fact, the legends of Ring of Gazing appears long before those characters were ever committed to paper more than 2,000 years ago in the Greek philosopher Plato's Republic. The story surfaces as the philosopher Socrates and his student Glaucon discuss why people act justly. Is it because it's what's right, or because it's convention that enforces the punishments and reward? Playing diverse advocates, Glaucon argues against Socrates and recounts the following story. Long ago, a shepherd named Gezi was tending his flock when an earthquake struck, ripping an opening to the ground. The chasm drew Gazes in. Then his eyes lighted upon a bronze horse. The doors to its central chamber ajar. Peering inside, Gazes discovered the corpse of a giant. On his finger a golden ring, which Gazes pocketed before retracing his steps. Later he sat among the other shopkeepers, fiddling with the mysterious ring, when suddenly, after absence while trailing its stem, he became invisible. When he turned stone back in the opposite direction, he reappeared. Emboldened by the ring's powers, new possibilities bloomed before him, and a sordid plan hatched in his mind. Gazes became a messenger to the king of Lydia, and inside the palace used the ring to flower undetected. He seduced the queen and convinced her to betray her husband, and so Gazes, once a humble shepherd, had mulversed the monarch and claimed the kingdom. Galcon tells this story to illustrate how people can apparently benefit by acting unjustly. After all, would any rational person act like Gazes is presented opportunities to get what they desire without consequence? Exploring these arguments, Galcon breaks all good things into three classes. The first kind, we desire for those own sake, like the experience of humblest pleasure. The second, we want only for the value they bring, though they may be onerous like exercise or medicine. The third class comprises things we desire for their own sake and the value they offer, like knowledge and health. Galcon argued that justice belongs to the second class of goods. It's a burden that nevertheless brings rewards. The only reason anyone conducts themselves virtuously, he reasons, is due to external influences, so it's appearing, not actually being, virtuous, that matters. Socrates, as written by Plato, disagrees, countering that justice belongs to the third class of good, offering both extrinsic and intrinsic benefits. Socrates argued that the human soul has three parts: reason, spirit, and appetite. Reason guides an individual to truth and knowledge, and is influenced by either spirit or appetite. Spirit is righteous, ambitious, and the source of bold action, while appetite consists of baser bodily desires. To Socrates, the philosopher is led by reason, and their spirits keeps their appetites in check, making them the most just and the happiest. Even without consequences for self-serving wrongdoing, they wouldn't commit them. Meanwhile, the tyrant succumbs to appetite and acts unjustly. So while Gyges may have attained power and wealth, Socrates implies that his soul would be in disharmony, heaped in enslaved to his own base desires rather than guided by reason, and wouldn't be truly happy. Before Plato penned these discussions, Chinese philosopher Confucius similarly reasons why it is simply acting justly one also benefits oneself. After modern Western philosophy voices varying beliefs, Thomas Hobbes, for instance, argued that the state of nature is violent and selfish. Justice, therefore, is imposed by authority. John Locke, in contrast, asserts people are naturally obligated to act justly, and they agree to participants in civil society to secure their natural rights. The allegory of the ill-gotten magical ring that lures its wearer towards their darkness desire continues to inspire. So if the ring of Gyges fell into your hands, what would you do? One more. A ring with supernatural abilities tempts its beholder with power. But there is no hobbits, dwarves, or valkyries in this tale. In fact, the legends of Ring of Gyges appeared long before those characters were ever committed to paper more than 2,000 years ago in the Greek philosopher Plato's Republic. The story surfaces as the philosopher Socrates and his student Glaucon discuss why people act justly. Is it because it's right, or because it's a convention that's enforced through punishments and reward? Playing devil's advocate, Glaucon argues against Socrates and recounts the following story. Long ago, a shepherd named Gyges was tending his flock when an earthquake struck, ripping an opening to the ground. The chasm drew Gyges in. There his eyes alighted upon a bronze horse, the doors to its central chamber ajar. Peering inside, Gyges discovered the corpse of a giant. On his finger a golden ring, which Gyges pocketed before retracing his steps. Later he sat among the other shepherds, fiddling with the mysterious ring, when, suddenly, after obstinately twirling its thumb, it became invisible. When he turned to stand back in the opposite direction, he reappeared. Emboldened by the ring's powers, new possibility bloomed before him, and he saw this plan hatched in his mind. Gyges became a messenger to the king of Lydia, and, inside the palace, used the ring to prowl undetected. He seduced the queen and convinced her to betray her husband. And so Gyges, once a humble shepherd, and murdered the monarch and claimed the kingdom. Galkins tells this story to illustrate how people can apparently benefit by acting unjustly. After all, would have a rational person act like Gyges is presents the opportunity to get what they desire without consequence. Exploring these arguments, Glaucon breaks all good things into three classes. The first kind, with desire for their own sake, like the experience of harmless pleasure. The second, we want only for the value they bring, though there may be honors like exercise or medicine. The third class comprises things we desire for their own sake, and the value they offer, like knowledge and health. Galton argues that justice belongs to second class of a good. Its burden that nevertheless bring rewards. The only reason anyone conducts themselves virtuously, he reasons, is due to external influence, so it's appearing, not actually being virtuous, that matters. Socrates, as written by Plato, disagrees, countering that justice belongs to the third class of good, offering both extrinsic and intrinsic benefits. Socrates argued that the human soul has three parts: reason, spirit, and appetite. Reason guides an individual to truth and knowledge, and is influenced by either spirit or appetite. Spirit is righteous, ambitious, and the source of bold action, while appetite consists of a baser, bodily desire. To Socrates, the philosopher is led by reason, and their spirits keeps their appetites in check, making them the most just and the happiness, even without consequences for self-serving wrongdoings, they wouldn't commit them. Meanwhile, the tyrant succumbs to appetite and acts unjustly. So while Gyges may have attained power and wealth, Socrates implied that his soul would be in disharmony. He became enslaved to his own base desire rather than guided by reason, and wouldn't be truly happy. Before Plato penned this discussion, Chinese philosopher Confucius similarly reasons by simply acting justly, one also benefits oneself. After, modern Western philosopher voices varying beliefs. Thomas Hobbes, for instance, argued that the state of nature is violent and selfish. Justice, therefore, is imposed by authority. John Locke, in contrast, asserts that people are naturally obligated to act justly, and they agree to participate in civil society to secure their natural rights. The allegory of the ill-gotten magical ring that lures where towards their darkness desire continues to inspire. So if the ring of Gyges fell in your hands, what would you do?